Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to a brand new episode of Kaiju Conversation. We've totally not been recording for like an hour now after Rex went and ate dinner and have been just randomly talking about stuff that might end up on the YouTube channel or might not.
We'll see.
So after that, hi, I'm Elijah, and joining me is my lovely editor, Rex.
Hello. How are we all?
I'm wonderful, I've been here. It's 3 a.m. I've been
That's
waiting.
awesome.
Yeah. I'm staring at a really weird photo right now. I'm gonna click off of it because I honestly don't know why I was staring at it.
Oh no.
So yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and get right into this introduction, and then we're gonna try and not repeat what we did during our 54 episode, which was talk at 5 a.m.
Yeah. So we may be
Yeah,
cutting it a little close.
maybe. I mean, we're an hour and a half away from that time.
Yeah, I'd like to have a shower tonight, so
Oh, trust me, I haven't been able to today, so it's okay. So, Rex, how have you been besides not taking a shower?
I've been doing pretty good, for the most part. I mean, the wonders of life in COVID have made things rather boring the past week or so, but otherwise things have been alright.
That's good to hear.
I've been watching some Ultraman as of late. Finally got back to continuing Return of Ultraman.
It's a great show, isn't it?
I'm actually starting to get a bit more into it.
Good.
And I was also there for the premiere of Ultraman Trigger.
So, without any spoilers, because I haven't seen it, and these listeners, all 7 of them, haven't watched it. Possibly, maybe. So, was it good? Was it bad? Better than Z? Worse than Z? How does it rank so far in the Reiwa era of Ultraman?
Well, Ultraman Trigger's first episode was it was good. I will say I enjoyed it. I'm glad I was I just glad to see more Ultraman stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was as strong as a start as Ultraman Z had in its first episode. But there are some nice things that I've noticed, such as it looks like there's a higher budget, and it looks like we're getting more set variety too.
Good. Is it like green screen? Because like I've seen a few clips because episode 1 of Z had Gomez, right?
Yeah.
And Gomez was like green screened into cities, if I remember right.
Yeah,
right?
but that was because he was tiny.
Oh, okay.
That was because it was it was supposed to be the original Gomez.
Okay. But like this time around it's not that?
There's a couple shots where like they use CGI buildings, but the main shot where they do that, it's very much like a shot from Ultraman Z, where they filmed outdoors from a very low angle, but up close and personal in the fight. So it makes sense why they had to have the buildings in CGI. It looks really cool. I don't think it's quite as strong as the same shot in Ultraman Z, but it still looks good. And they actually blow up a kaiju prop, which is something that has not been seen in a while.
I was going to bring that up. I saw a screenshot, and I wasn't sure if it was like spoiler territory. But I heard that, and I was like, oh my god, confetti kaiju? Heck
Which
yeah.
is good to see, because that shows that they clearly at least somewhat care about the original Tiga, and yeah, they have a budget to do that now.
I'm wondering if because the Japanese industry of filmmaking has been screwed over for years since 1980.
Hmm.
And I'm curious if we're going to start seeing a resurgence in like budgets and
Maybe.
whatnot.
I kind of suspect that the the budget increase might be because of the big success of Ultraman Z.
Which is good.
Hmm. Because it was really successful both internationally and in Japan.
And I can only imagine how well the toy sales were.
Hmm.
'Cause, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what Bandai's looking.
Yeah. The funny thing is they have a they do have Bandai toy commercials in the simulcasting on the Ultraman YouTube channel, and the Bandai commercial most of the footage they used for it is literally just recycled from the toy commercial for Ultraman Z. Like they literally, like the main shot at the end of all the toys together, they didn't even refilm that to add the trigger toys in. They just used the shot of the Ultraman Z toys,
Huh.
which I found
That's
pretty funny.
that's Bandai cutting corners.
Yeah, lazy but funny.
That's Bandai.
Hmm.
I mean, have you seen their 2019 Bandai Rodan? All right.
Unfortunately.
So is that it? Have you been Ultramanning out lately?
More or less, yeah.
Nice. I need to get started on Leo. I'm gonna start that next week, actually.
Hmm.
So I watched a movie recently called Legend of the Eighth Samurai, with Hiroki Sanada. Did I say
Yeah, I was
that
about
right?
to ask if he was in that film.
Did I say that right?
No,
Hiroki Sanada?
Hiroyuki Sanada.
Hiroyuki Sanada. Okay.
Yeah.
He was like, I thought he was gonna be like a minor character, but like he was one of the main people in it, and I loved it. He's
Good.
so young. He's like 20 years old. And it's
Hmm.
funny because he's got the baby face
He's
and
got the what face?
the baby face. You know, he doesn't have the facial the mustache or the goatee
Or the
yet.
beard?
Yeah. And so he, it's really cool to see him in it. And I love that. Honestly, I was surprised by how good it was. It
Hmm.
was colorful. It was on it. It was like comparing it to Star Wars, and honestly, it is Japanese, like classic Japanese Star Wars. That's
Hmm.
honestly how I felt about it.
Hmm.
The sets were great. It was colorful. It was fun. It had a great soundtrack. There's a song on it that's titled after the movie. The Japanese title.
Yeah.
Um, it translates to, or the American title is "I Don't Want This Night to End," but it's called in Japan Satomi Hanken, I think is how you say it, which is
Hmm.
Legend of the Eighth Samurai. And I've
I
been
see.
listening to that uh, every night. I don't know
Hmm.
if it's because I'm in a mood or not, but like it's really good. It's an '80s love song. I don't
Hmm.
want this night to end. I really liked it. It's got a great soundtrack. It's very grand, and it was a Katakawa film too, which was cool.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
here's hoping to an Arrow release because I would buy that in an instant.
If it's got Sonata in it, I want to watch it.
It's good, and apparently this was the second film the director was trying to reboot, like the samurai thing based off
Hmm.
of some old books. The first one was like Samurai Reincarnation or Samurai Resurrection. I forget which one. I think it was Reincarnation. From
Hmm.
1981, also Katakawa. Um, so that's really exciting.
Hmm.
And I do plan on watching that. It was released by Media Blasters, but I'm
I
waiting to
see.
see if it'll get a Blu-ray. So
Mm.
besides that, I don't have my Blu-ray shelf near me at all. It's very 30-40 minutes away, so I can't look at it. But I watched that. I finished the Bloodthirsty trilogy.
Oh, nice.
I watched Evil of Dracula and Lake of Dracula. Lake of Dracula is my favorite, I think, because of the sets. But I think both were better than Vampire Doll by a long shot, which was nice. And then I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I did a little research on Qui-Gon, which is kind of cool. Listened to a video essay and whatnot, but it was fun. I also watched a little movie from 1955. It actually came out in it came out in April 24th of 1955. It was a Toho film. It was directed by Motoroshi Oda, and the movie.
I'm pretty sure you mispronounced his name, but oh well.
Okay, how would you pronounce it?
Motoyoshi Oda.
That's what I said, Motoroshi Oda.
I thought you said Motoroshi.
I didn't say Roshi.
Oh well. It's better than Motoyoshi Cutie Q.
Oh yeah, that's true, Mr. Paul Streitman. Yeah, and the special effects were directed by Eiji Tsuburaya, but apparently it's Eiji Tsuburaya. Yeah, that's great. Great job, Mr. Streitman. Did a great job with your film, misspelling everything in the film. Even the title is wrong. Dude forgot to go to grammar English class in high school or middle school or elementary school. So yeah, we are talking about the 1955 movie Godzilla Raids Again.
Yes.
And this is our third Godzilla film in the reboot. We're trying to go at this in order of release, but
relatively.
Yeah, we had to fast track King Kong versus because of
a little known movie came out. It's an indie film.
It's not that
you've
important.
probably never heard of it.
It's pretty bad. You don't need to worry about it.
It's one of those movies that you'd see and think, oh, Netflix exclusive.
Yeah. So now we're going back and we're fixing our little mistake and we're addressing the second film in the Godzilla franchise, Godzilla Raids Again, or
yes,
as it was known in Japan, Godzilla's Counterattack, which is Godzilla no Kyushu,
Gyakushu. Yes, close enough.
Close enough. Something like that.
Close enough.
I'm pretty sure that's how Google said it when I put it in the thing with the stuff. But yeah, so obviously everybody who's seen the film knows it was a little rushed. After Godzilla came out, executive producer on all the Godzilla films at the time, and ahead of Toho, Iwao Mori, approached Tsuburaya at like their after party, like
Tanaka.
Yeah, we did it. Oh, my bad. My notes say Tsuburaya, but I meant to put Tanaka. Hey, at least I didn't confuse Tsuburaya with Honda like everybody else.
Fair enough, I guess.
He approached Tanaka and was like, "You need to make another Godzilla movie right now." And just like King Kong and Son of Kong, they did that.
Yeah.
And
it was released about roughly less than 6 months later.
6 months later, with production starting almost instantaneously, like the pre-production, the script writing was done late November, December, and they started filming in January or February of '55, and then
it released
March,
in April.
In March, they edited it and promoted it. In April, they released it. So, pretty quick turnaround, all things considered.
Yeah. I mean, it's not as fast as Megalon, but still.
Megalon had 3 months. This probably had like 6-7 weeks, probably, to film. I would guess.
Something like that.
Yeah. First things first, obviously Honda didn't direct the film.
Yeah. He was working on his own movies at the time.
Yeah, and so was Ifukube, which is why Ifukube was gone.
Ifukube was sort of... He scored a lot of films in 55.
Yeah.
In general, he's just scored dozens upon dozens of films.
Probably because they're like, oh my god, he did a great score for Godzilla. We should bring him onto our product.
He's an amazing composer.
That
legendary
Kurosawa never worked with again after one film. But
speaking of Kurosawa, this film's composer, Masaru Sato, had worked on a few Kurosawa movies.
And my
both
favorite
before and after. Seven Samurai?
No. Yojimbo.
Oh, Yojimbo?
Yeah. I love Yojimbo, and Sato's score for that film was amazing.
I'm still yet to see it.
You need to. It's a great film.
I know. I absolutely adored Seven Samurai.
Actually, no. We need to do a bonus episode about Yojimbo and the Seven Samurai.
I'm down.
That's all I'm going to say, because I could rave about Seven Samurai in all its glory, but I'm not going to, because we're here to talk about Godzilla raids again, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was about to say.
But an interesting thing about Tsuburaya, obviously he came back to do the special effects. Oda directed and Sato scored it. All of them were hot off the press of a little known film, The Invincible Man or Invincible Avenger. Depends on your translation. But essentially, the thought process was we give Oda our B films or B movies that are quick and cheap to make, and just have him do them and put it out there so it can make money and move on.
Yeah,
and
I think Oda himself was, from what I've been able to gather, Oda himself was sort of just a director who was sort of like that by the numbers director, I guess, if you will.
Yeah. He was the one they had on speed dial if they needed somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I as much as I like Sato and Tsuburaya, I don't think this creative team was the right people to do a Godzilla film.
You see, I don't think this film is just nothing spectacular.
No.
It's sort of how I look at it.
There's one scene that I actually thought was well done. That's it. When Oda tried to replicate the Japanese Allied fire bombings of Tokyo in the Osaka scene, I could feel like I really liked how they were able to. They really built up this sense of dread. You know, you had the guy who ran the fishing company watching and like, we just got to wait a few more a few more minutes. Like we're about to get Godzilla away from the harbor, and then all hell breaks loose, and we're kind of
Yeah.
um
There's definitely it definitely feels like the continuation of Godzilla, or like an actual sequel to it. But I don't think it's as striking
yeah.
as 54.
Oh, definitely. Everything about it is like just it's shallow. It's the same story because I mean, two of the writers on it were the same people who wrote 54. You had
Yeah,
Shigeru Kayama,
and
the
Takeo Murata.
who Kayama did the story, and then
Yeah.
Takayama and the writer for Invisible Man. I think I could be wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, he did Invisible Man.
Yeah, and then he worked on it and kind of fixed it up. And it's obvious, like the love story, the human characters take the front very much so throughout the film, but
Yeah.
they don't get development. They don't get any interesting scenes. Heck, even the like the scene where everybody's gathered around the table talking about it, it doesn't have the same impact.
Like with scenes like that, I don't think those scenes are bad. I think they're decent scenes.
I hated
But
the scene in this one. It was not good.
but I think the context around them, the audience is just not connected enough with the characters to really care all that much.
It's that, and the issue with this boardroom scene was you've got one of the greatest actors in the world. You've got
Takashi Shimura.
you've got Shimura, and he's sitting there, and he looks like he wants to be anywhere but there.
He's just most of his performance is playing with a pencil.
And it's horrible. Like he did a better job in Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, and it's hard to tell that's him.
I always forget he's in that movie.
Right. And they absolutely butcher his character. Most of the boardroom sequence is a silent reel of the best of 54 moments.
Yeah.
And it's so boring. And one of my hugest flaws with this film is the score. The score is not present throughout the film. And you're just sitting in a ton of moments of silence. And like I was referring to earlier, Qui-Gon, it's a 3-hour movie, and the score is barely in some of the short films throughout the movie. The one where it's the black hair, where the samurai comes home after abandoning his wife, and he finds out she's dead after sleeping with her. Like throughout that scene, it's very quiet, but there's a weird sound that just keeps happening over and over, which gives you a sense of dread. But this is like I've seen this footage before.
It's padding, is how I feel. Like my issue with this movie is
absolutely
it's the same issue I have with some other films like Gamera vs. Jiger. This does not need to be an hour 20, hour and 30-ish movie. It feels like it should be about 50 minutes to an hour at most.
Right. They could have easily changed it with like a photo of him or something, and just be like,
or even just a shorter reel.
And I hated that the boardroom sequence in this film, and it's obvious it was low budget. Like the dinosaur book. Everything about it was just like, it's obviously shot it on a whim. It's obviously told Shimura, hey, come on set for 30 minutes. We're going to have you sit, stare down, and say some stuff and go away.
I mean, to be honest, I kind of feel like the piece of paper he looks at multiple times is probably the script.
I was actually thinking the same thing.
Because he pauses and looks down there multiple times and then continues speaking.
Mm-hmm.
All I could think is that the goddamn script?
It could have been. I wouldn't be surprised if it was. Like, Shimura clearly phoned it in.
He did not care.
And, you know, I hated that scene. The love triangle is worthless. Like, or it's not even a love triangle.
It's not even a love triangle.
It's boy likes girl, boy dies, everybody alone.
The girl was never even seen in person.
That is true.
Just a photo.
It
tries to be tragic. Like it wants to be a sad melodrama, kind of like 54, but it's not. It's less impactful.
Of course, because the interesting was you had like Sarazawa, who like Sarazawa was like tragic because they gave him the backstory of like World War II or and whatnot. And then like you had, you know, Ogata and Emiko, and you know, you had this interesting story with, you know, colliding opinions and different backgrounds, and
yeah,
it was like a puzzle. It all fit together nice and neatly. But this film, it's like you got the same puzzle piece over and over again, and they don't fit with each other. They just sit on top of each other. There's nothing interesting about them.
Yeah. Like, I don't think the idea of the story is at all bad. I think mostly, like, if you just look at the plot and, like, don't look at the movie itself, don't look at the details, just look at the basic outline of it, it's not a bad story, but the film doesn't execute it well.
No. The story, because it's the same story as 54. When you take it to its basic
Essentially
components, it's the same story, but it's done obviously on a lower budget, obviously rushed, obviously at a less interesting, and it sucks. The human characters, I don't think, had any time to shine in this film. Even when like our main side character, there's no main character. Like, it's obvious who they want.
Hiroshi Koizumi's kind of the main character, but
he
Kobayashi
doesn't do
to an
anything.
extent. Yeah,
He
exactly.
doesn't do anything. Like,
he avenges his friend, Kobayashi, I guess, but you don't even really see him much during the final sequence. So
right, and it's interesting because you're like Kobayashi, and you're Hiroshi Koizumi. You don't even know his name. The character in the movie.
Well, it was like Suki or something like that.
Yeah, right. It started with the T. That's all I remember. But like, yeah,
I remember Yoshio Tsuchiya's character's name better because it was Tajima.
Yeah, and he played the college buddy, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, clearly Koizumi was supposed to be the main character and his girlfriend. But Kobayashi is the one who sacrifices himself.
Mm.
He's the one who
He's
gives
the one
people
with some of the actual development.
right, and it's not, of course you've got that. He doesn't. He solves Godzilla's demise. He finds Godzilla to an extent. He's what starts the plot, but
True.
he's not the central focus. It's always on Koizumi and his girlfriend.
Mm.
And I think it's lacking. It's not Kobayashi's story.
Yeah.
The quote unquote main character, or Koizumi, doesn't do anything substantial.
And I like Hiroshi Koizumi as an actor. I
I
think he's
love
a
him.
fairly good. I think he's a very solid Toho actor, but his performance in this is so unmemorable.
Mm-hmm. I didn't
Like,
even realize he was in it until I researched.
like I remember more enthusiasm or interest from Yoshio Tsuchiya in the movie, and Kobayashi, of course, both of whom were in Seven Samurai.
Yeah, I'm absolutely with you, and I love Koizumi. Like, he is one of my favorite characters in like pretty much everything after Moth.
Mm.
And it kind of sucks that here he is. Like, this is his earliest Tokusatsu appearance in Toho films, I think, and he's kind of just there.
Mm.
Before I did research, I thought of Kobayashi before I thought of
Yeah, Kobayashi is really the only character that you ever hear anyone talk about when it comes to this movie, outside of the titular Godzilla and then Anguirus.
Right. And I think that's where I think its human characters are lacking in that department.
Mm.
And
Like,
since we're
I don't think they're awful, but there's just so little to chew on with them. It's just a shame, really.
because it has potential,
Yeah.
but they don't utilize it at all.
Mm.
With its strong writers and strong actors, you'd think they could do a better job.
Yeah.
But obviously they don't.
Yeah.
Speaking of characters, I think this is a good gateway to talk about the titular character,
Godzilla,
or Gigantus.
the fire monster, or the female T-Rex.
Or Anguirus for some random reason. So, Rex, what did you think of Godzilla in this film?
I think so. They made a new Godzilla suit. It was considerably lighter than the original suit. Slimmed down. They used different material, and it looks different. It's not as good looking of a suit as the original, but I don't mind it. I think it looks pretty good, except from except the face looks off in front angles. That's my only real issue with it, and it might be a little bit too slim.
I think when designing it, they were worried about like the side back shot from the right side, like how it would look from the spines forward, because the front shots and look awful. Like, I hate that suit. I hate that design. It's ugly. It's skinny. It's not good. Just like Final Wars, right, Rex? I do like Final Wars in all seriousness, but I don't care for its design. The roar is not interesting either. Like I think it gave us the more traditional Godzilla roar,
Mm,
but it's still like I don't remember its roar except for the final part where it sounds like Godzilla.
mm, yeah. Um, yeah, no, like the puppet looks okay.
Oh,
Uh, I think it's utilized the puppet itself is utilized a little bit better than 54's at certain points,
I mean,
mainly during the fight with Anguirus. But
maybe if it didn't look as bad. I hate the suit.
I don't hate it, but it's the one thing that makes it really obvious that it's not the suit.
Mhm. Fun fact, did you know that we actually never see Godzilla open his mouth to use his atomic breath in the suit?
Are you sure? I'm pretty sure they.
Yeah, it's because the suit's mouth couldn't open all the way, so there is not a single shot where Godzilla uses his atomic breath, and it's the actual suit.
Great, now I'm gonna have to watch this film again. God damn it!
I'm honestly, if I rewatch it, it's with the Steve Rifle commentary.
I mean, I'm still yet to see Gigantus the Fire Monster, so God help me with that. As you said, they definitely focus more on the side profile of it, and from the side, it looks fairly good for the most part. Little too slim, nowhere near as imposing as 54, but not terrible. The front, it's way too skinny, but my only real major issue is the face.
Yeah.
Um, but otherwise, I think Nakajima's performance was pretty solid.
Nakajima's performance was really good.
Even more impressive when you realize he was the one who choreographed the fight.
Did he?
Yeah, he did.
Because I know Subaraya used them for later ones.
Subaraya, for all the great things about him, he didn't really know much about fighting.
That is
so,
true.
so usually it was the suit actors, and in this case, Nakajima was choreographing himself and Katsumi Tezuka.
Yeah. And it's also speaking of Tezuka, I'm really happy he got to be in this film because like he
Yeah,
reportedly he wasn't in 54 really at all. So it was good
yeah,
that he was able to do something in this.
yeah. And he's pretty good as Anguirus, I'd say. Not that he really gets to do much.
Right. Did you know he was a baseball player?
I feel I've heard that. I feel I've heard that.
I found that out today watching a bonus feature. Yeah, he was
Hmm.
a baseball player.
Nakajima used to, since he was older than Nakajima sort of used to see him as a kind of like an intimidating, or Tezuka used to portray himself like an intimidating sort of figure, and Nakajima's actually compared to him to being like a mafia man.
And yet in almost all of the BTS photos, he's like helping Nakajima or whatever the case may be. That's really funny.
Yeah. Speaking of Tezuka, I guess we might as well talk about
Anguirus,
the
yeah, I was about to
secondary
say that.
stuff.
So Anguirus, Mr. Back flying open
Hmm.
and one shot person.
I mean,
I
he's a cool design.
uh, I the suits look rushed. I'm noticing something. I'm really not liking this movie. Like I don't think I've said anything positive except for the blackout scene so far.
Hmm. I think the suit looks okay for Angus. I don't really have any strong thoughts on it outside of I don't really like the carapace doesn't look quite right to me. It doesn't look. It's hard to articulate why. It kind of just looks like a rounded square, I guess, and it just looks a bit off. I prefer how the carapace was designed on later Anguirus,
Yeah.
namely
I,
68.
I hate the sculpting of 55. Like, he looks weird. Like, his head does not look right.
Hmm. I mean, there's a couple shots where I think he looks like the shot of Anguirus in front when he's in front of like the pagoda and you see him like moving his tail around and it's like a front on shot. That looks pretty good. I think that's probably the best angle for the suit. But outside of that, the sculpt itself, it's it's better than the volcano monster sculpt.
Yeah, that is true. That's very true.
One thing I do like though is something that I didn't notice until it was pointed out was that with Anguirus, you don't really often get to see the back of his hind legs,
Yeah.
and because it's always obscured. It's they compose the fight in a way to obscure Anguirus's legs so that you don't really notice that Katsumi Tezuka's just on his knees. And so that makes it. I do like the attempts to make the four-legged Anguirus or the quadrupedal Anguirus more convincing as a quadrupedal creature.
Yeah, which makes sense, and that I will say that was smart of them to do.
Mhm. And I would say that the actual fight itself was pretty good. The shot composition was usually pretty great. The scale was outside of the frame rate issue. The scale was really good. Like they genuinely looked pretty big.
Yeah.
And the set itself is the Godzilla raids again. You can kind of tell a lot of the sets are in studio for the for the uh, for the A unit filming with the actors, but the special effects filming, these sets just look better produced, higher quality.
We're talking about the buildings and whatnot, right?
Yeah, like the set design.
The design is good. It's a little obvious it's, on a sound stage.
Yeah,
And the buildings don't fall right. Like, watching it was like, oh, they look stiff. They look stiff.
mm. They had trouble with the main pagoda building. I know that.
Oh, speaking of which, why is it when Godzilla uses his atomic... I guess we're talking about special effects now, pretty much.
Yeah.
Why is it when Godzilla uses atomic breath, like, the entire world incinerates around him? Like, they fought on, like, a peninsula. There's no reason that the entirety of Osaka should have went up in flames like that. What if the atomic breath and whatnot was just horribly done?
I felt with most the entirety of Osaka getting destroyed, I felt they were trying a little too hard to replicate 54, and it just the like they have a shot that's basically just copy and paste of 54's of
Yes.
54 where say sort of like a tracking shot where you see the rubble and fire. But I think the big issue with it was the contrast.
Yeah, it was too bright. And I
Yeah.
think it was too high because you could see the ground,
Mm.
and I was just like, this isn't well. I could see what they were trying to do, and it did not work like the other one.
Mm. I think the only time that they've really replicated it and it's worked is in Destroy All Monsters at like the end of the Tokyo Rampage
Yeah,
scene.
yeah, um, yeah. I would agree because it was dark and it was gritty and well detailed.
Mm.
Again, I think I think the film rates again suffers from being so obviously rushed.
Yeah.
And I think one of the big things about that is like the camera, how one of the camera C was set at
Wasn't set.
18 frames per second instead of the required 72. And
Yeah.
I know Subaraya said it looked good, but like it did not look good. They were
Mm.
moving way too fast. It did,
Yeah.
and the music doesn't match with it.
Mm. You know, supposedly after Rate Again, when Subaraya would have free camera setups, supposedly he actually would set one to 18 frames per second.
Yeah, he would have each camera at a different frames per second to see what would be the best course
Yeah.
of action. Speaking of the special effects, I found out that they had to rebuild the Godzilla suit many times on set because like it was
Really?
made out of a rubber material that was not good, and like
Mm.
they would constantly have to fix it.
Mm. You know, I heard that the version of the volcano monsters suit, when that got shipped, that was actually burnt and had holes in it like so they must have been using a really very not durable material.
They were trying to make it as flexible as possible,
Yeah.
and I think with that they were like, oh, let's use this non-durable.
So I guess kind of like the opposite of what they were doing with 54's suit.
Yeah, absolutely. Um,
Mm.
Now I've complained a lot during this. I think that's actually an understatement. I've complained through all this entire you know conversation. Um, but surprisingly, when it came out, it was really well done. Like it did really well. One of the highest attended Godzilla films still to date. Not as good as 54 King Kong Versus, but it's still very high. Um,
I mean, it's basically number 3 in
yeah,
terms of that somehow.
but it was very poorly received, and that's why
Yeah,
that's what kind of killed
it
the
failed to make
franchise.
an impact. I mean, apparently even the staff that worked on the film, when they watched like a work print of it, what they ended up talking about during or after that was 54, not Raids Again.
Which sucks
Hmm.
because they totally could have like
There are seeds for a good film in this,
yes.
and it's a shame that the potential was just wasted, really.
Mhm. And I wish I'd like to see them attempt to do rates again another time, like a remake,
Mm.
and in a sense, because I feel like with the proper time, it could be really well done.
Hmm.
But because it was the first of its type, we have to admit that it was the first of its mono e mono kaiju fight film.
Yeah, like we'd only really had like a couple. We had the dinosaur fights in Lost World and King Kong.
Right.
That was about
Which
it.
which was a completely different
Different field of
style.
special effects.
Yeah.
because it was stop motion, whereas this suitmation.
Animation. So this is really the first of its type. So I do have to give it a leeway on that, but I still it should have they should have spent a few more months working on it. It should have came out in May instead of April, and I think it would have been better
Yeah.
because they could have reshot all that footage. That's obviously like a quick take
Yeah.
and move on.
It's just it's an underbaked movie.
And even like Subaraya, I'm pretty sure was pretty disappointed because like he wasn't able to perfect it, and I think it kind of shows.
Yeah.
And so I think everybody who worked on the film knew it wasn't as good, and they wanted it to be as good, but they just could never realize that.
I mean, even Tanaka himself has admitted that, yeah, it was nowhere near as good as the original.
And so, since then, obviously, like I said, after Raids Again, the poorly received review kind of made Toho put it on ice, which led to Godzilla being out for a while.
Yeah, a good 7 years.
Yes, 7 years. Which wasn't Toho. I read that it wasn't necessarily Toho, but there was a script afterwards that was shot.
Yeah. Yeah. So, from what I understand, Toho's planning, department, you could just be like a random actor or random person who worked at Toho and propose a script to them,
Right.
and they would be willing to listen to you. So Hideo Unagami, I think his name was, submitted a draft of Bride of Godzilla ? To Iwao Mori, and he sent that over to Tanaka. But this script went through at least 3 drafts, and
multiple attempts to bring back.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, with Bride of Godzilla, this, surprisingly enough, it apparently would seem to be one of Tanaka's favorite scripts, given he had this script up until his death. Like, when he died in the 90s, it was found in his desk. And even in the 80s, before, when Return of Godzilla was being made, he actually pointed the writer of Return of Godzilla to the Bride of Godzilla script to fish ideas from it. And ideas from the script actually did make it into both 84 and even the original Rodan.
Which is so weird because I've heard the general synopsis, and it is one of the weirdest, bizarrest. It's up there with Space Godzilla. Like, it is so weird.
Yeah, no, this is such a far cry from 54 and Raids Again. And it's funny because apparently in the script, Dr. Yamane was actually supposed to be in it again. He was supposed to get another boardroom scene where he'd be bored, play with pencil,
press, and read the script on the
yeah.
But and one thing I found very interesting about Raids Again is it is one of the hardest to yet. Godzilla films in the West, like it's got German releases, but when it comes to like US, like it had a VHS in '89, and then it had the classic media disc in '07, and then it had its reissue in 2012, and then it appeared on the Criterion set. And that's like its history in the West. And most of that was the West version.
I mean, over here in Australia, this film has, to my understanding, never had a physical release here. Not even Mad Men has released it on a single disc or in any of their Showa box sets.
Which I wonder if it's because of how bad they think it is, or if it's just nobody's interested.
I don't know, because there's like a select few Godzilla films that, to my understanding, have never had physical releases here. Which is like Race Again, the Japanese version of King Kong vs. Godzilla, possibly Ghidorah. Well, the Japanese version of Ghidorah, I guess. And then, yeah, the Japanese version of 84. 85 got a VHS release, but that's about it. And then, Biollante.
So, yeah, it's kind of interesting how this film has been very elusive until recently on physical.
I mean, I only own it through the Criterion set.
Which I do gotta say, I love the Japanese title sequence.
Oh yeah, it looks nice.
Like I think it's cool. So that being said, before we get into
making you have to stretch far and wide to compliment it.
Yeah. Before we get into our final thoughts, what is your history with Rage Again, Rex? And then I'll share mine and we'll get to our thoughts.
Honestly, there's like I have so little history with this film. Like the most I can say on it is it was just very elusive, that it was honestly the last Godzilla movie I actually ended up seeing.
As for my history, this was the last Showa film I watched. I think I had yet to see all the Heisei and Millennium by the time I got to it, but the VHS was very elusive for me. I didn't realize Classic Media had released it. To be honest, I thought I had owned it for a long time until I saw a commercial. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't own that one. And then I went searching for it to eventually buy it, and I still have that copy. That's actually what I used to watch it tonight. Because I refused to use my Criterion set. I have 2 copies of it. It's okay.
I mean, to be fair, it's one of the better looking transfers on the Criterion set.
That's true.
It is a black and white film, so
yeah, you can't really screw that up.
It's a little bit soft.
Wonderful.
Well.
But I that's how eventually I watched it, and I didn't like it, and I once again, I've watched mainly the Japanese version, or not Japanese version, the American version. That's because Steve Rifle and his friends talk about the movie, and so I can listen to them talk about it and not watch the
and
film.
Be more interested.
Yeah, it is. When watching it today, it took me 4 hours to watch it, and it's an hour and 20 minutes.
Jesus, even I was able to sit through it.
I watched 10 minutes and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go. And then I came back and I sat with the pause for like 2 hours, and then I watched it and finished it. I think I paused it once in between then for like 5 minutes. And then I finished it, and I then didn't do any research because I wanted to take a break from Rage Again. So, bleeding into my thoughts now, and then we'll finish with Rex, Mr. Rex. I hate this movie. It's it's the second worst Godzilla film I've ever seen.
Damn.
I think it has nothing good about it. I can respect it for being the first of its kind, but I think they poorly did it. It's right down there with Godzilla City on the Edge of Battle.
Damn.
It's awful. It's garbage. It's not interesting. The score sucks. The monster designs look awful. The special effects scenes are lacking, even though they are the best part. I will say, and I'm a little sad I didn't bring this up. The matte painting of Osaka looking like a mushroom cloud was cool, but the fact that they used it 3 times was a little redundant. Like, if you showed it once at the very end, like, and let it linger for a few seconds, I think it would have been more impacting, but showing it 3 different times, and it's like, oh, I've seen this already.
Yeah.
I hate this movie. There's nothing good about it. I don't see what you see in this film. I really don't.
Well, I'm mainly talking positive about the fight is most of what I've talked positive of.
There's nothing good about the fights. It's boring.
I mean, I like like everyone always says, oh, it's animalistic. It is, and I kind of like that. It kind of reminded me of, to an extent, an Ultraman episode with the fights. It almost feels similar to that in a way. So I kind of like that.
But this isn't Ultraman.
I know.
This is Godzilla.
It made me think, hey, I could be watching Ultraman right now.
Fair enough.
But like,
so out of 5 stars, or do you have more you want to say?
I'll say slightly more. Like, Rage Again is a movie that I don't hate it, but I don't really like it, and I don't see myself rewatching it for a while. Like, honestly, I wouldn't have rewatched it today if not for this podcast. I would have waited like probably a good year or 2.
Actually, since we've covered it, I think we should rate. Out of the 3 films we've reviewed and talked about so far, what's your list?
Well, pretty much just the order we've done the episodes. 54 is number 1. King Kong vs. Godzilla is number 2. Rage Again is 3. Yeah.
I agree.
Like, if I had to give Rage Again a rating, it'd be like roughly 2 out of 5. Maybe 1.5 out of 5.
1.5 for me, easily. It's not the worst film I've ever seen. That goes to 2001: A Space Odyssey and Godzilla Singular Point and got a Gamma Super Monster. They all get 0s.
Yeah, I thought you said Singular Point.
But like, what?
You said Godzilla Singular Point there.
Oh, it's an anime. It's 5 a.m. They're both. It's the same thing, but better. City on the Edge of Battle, Super Monster, and 2001: A Space Odyssey.
2001: A Space Odyssey.
No, I hate it. It's awful. You want to stare at a dude's eye for 5 minutes? No, I don't think you do. I'll turn my camera on right now and get right up in the camera, and I will stare at you with one eye, and I will blink occasionally, and I will turn on the sound from that movie.
Okay.
And you tell me how uncomfortable and how bad you think it is.
God damn. I think I struck a nerve there.
I have PTSD from that movie. That beady little red eye. I'm sorry, Hal. I cannot, or I'm sorry, Dave. I cannot do that for you.
I think you hate it more than City on the Edge of Battle.
It's garbage. I hate it. I hate this movie.
Nice.
It's one of the worst Godzilla films ever. Actually, I would give it half a star. I'm not going to give it 1.5, half a star. I'm not even going to let my Godzilla bias flood in here. Half a star.
Damn.
Godzilla versus Kong did a better, fast-paced, awful action scene.
Damn.
What's your review?
I already said 1.5 or 2 at most.
You're wrong.
Thank you.
Oh boy, this has been a ride. I hope anybody listening to this found more joy out of listening to us talk about this film and other things than actually watching the film. The Japanese version is the better one, but it's still awful. But both would, I would give I'm going to wait. That'll be on the bonus episode or actual episode. Whenever we cover Gigantus, the Fire Month.
Damn, that'll be exciting since it'll probably be my first time watching it.
Yeah, and you'll get to rewatch Rage Again to an extent. With stock music and narration and talk footage.
Godzilla making dinosaurs. And he's not even called Godzilla. Godzilla, but not in name only.
Unfortunately. So I think we can wrap things up here. We pretty well covered the. I will say this. One thing that I really wish about Rage Again is it was more publicized. Because there's not a lot of information on this film.
Like,
it's very
the
limited.
Most interesting stories relating to Rage Again is about its English versions.
Okay. Yeah. And I do hope that changes, because I think Rage Again has an interesting production that has gone mostly unpublicized, which I'd like to see more people talk about.
I'd like to see people talk more about like the creation of X-Virus.
But not right. But not praise the film, because we can't do the film has no praise.
We here at Kaiju Conversation respect and value the opinions of others.
Unless you like Godzilla City on Edge of Battle. If you like Godzilla City on Edge of Battle, you are wrong.
What if someone says it's their favorite Godzilla movie?
You are wrong.
Would I get fired if I said it's my favorite Godzilla movie?
Yes, you would.
Great.
But I know you. You don't even have the heart to make such a blasphemous statement.
Well, that's because Godzilla Singular Point came out.
That is true. You will hear our thoughts on... Oh, we watched Singular Point. We didn't even mention that.
I'm pretty sure you mentioned that last episode.
Did I? I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I did.
We'll actually talk about that. In case it's not obvious, we're wrapping things up.
Yes. For like the third time.
Yes. We've made our plea, as we do every episode. please talk more about this movie. Please publicize more about this movie. Please stop talking about this movie. Nobody wants to hear your analytic view of Gojira for the 570th time.
But if you are going to talk about Gojira, you might as well talk about this film.
Yes. Absolutely.
Like we...
Rex, where can we find you at? Who are you?
I am Xeno. You can find me on YouTube at Xeno. On Twitter, I am at Rex_Xenomorph. Instagram, Rex_Xeno. I have a blog page at kaijublog.wordpress.com, and I've recently been writing for Tokusatsu Network. The day before Ultraman Day, I actually wrote or published an article about the history of Eiji Tsuburaya. So, like a brief...
Did you talk about a Patient to Madness?
Yeah.
Did you talk about a Patient? Okay,
Yeah.
good. How about Invisible Man Appears?
Yeah, I mentioned them.
Good. Good. You passed.
I was really surprised.
When I saw the link, that was the first thing I thought of.
I was quite surprised in researching it that the man who brought Tsuburaya into the Japanese film industry was the man behind Great Buddha Arrival.
Yeah.
Probably the first Japanese kaiju movie that is now lost.
Oh, side note, what was that? What was the title of the Tsuburaya Toku film that was found in the UK?
Oh, Kaguya Hime, which, believe it or not, it was Tsuburaya's lifelong goal to remake that film. Like, he was writing a script for it.
Is it like the full?
No, it's
like
re-edit.
the full?
It's like 33 minutes of it.
Oh, so it's not the complete thing? Oh. So cool. But anyway, continue with telling people who you are and what you do.
That was basically it.
Okay, you're not that cool.
Wow.
I kid.
Shade at your own editor. Wow. Oh yeah, I edit this podcast.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. What podcast
This
do you
one.
edit? What's this one about?
Bad movies.
Hi, I'm Elijah, and it's 5 a.m, and I feel a lot better than I did during the Gojira recording. I don't know if I sound tired.
Not really.
It's been a long night. Oh, goody.
Googie?
I have a YouTube channel that I barely post on called EP13 Productions. I also have a Twitter at EP13 Productions and an Instagram at the same handle. I also have a Twitter at that is E as in elephant, Thomas, 1975. I am a journalist, and I write for occasionally sci-fi.com, but I'm moving mostly over to the up-and-coming Kaiju fanzine, Kaiju Ramen, brought to us by our friends over at the Kaiju Weekly podcast, Travis and Michael. The issue 3 issues already, really surprising, will be coming out within a short time. I'm going to leave it to them to announce that, because I'm not in the standing to do so, but it's coming soon. And I may or may not have an article in it that I pushed off the last minute to write about. But it's good nonetheless. It's a great article, and there's a lot of good stuff coming in that issue. So definitely check that out. I believe the Kaiju Ramen link can be found in our link tree down below. Thank you guys for listening. Before we head out, I do want to let you know to not forget to rate us on iTunes. That boosts our ratings and helps us get recommended to more people just like you. more people that are interested in kaiju and tokusatsu so they can learn just as you have, hopefully, or laugh. I don't know. I don't know if we're an informative or a comedic podcast at this point.
I'd say both. But in the comedic sense, we're very bad.
Yeah. Maybe. Let us know in a 5-star review how comedic we are.
Yes, tell me I'm funny. Boost my ego.
You're not funny, Rex.
Hey, that wasn't what I said to do.
If you don't have an Apple device, which I don't blame you, I don't, you can tweet us and follow us on Twitter at KAIJU_CONDERS. If you don't have either of those, you can like us on Facebook or follow us on Instagram and contact us via that way. If you're like me before podcasting, you don't have any social media, lucky you. You can email us at kaijuconversation@gmail.com. All lowercase, all one word. You guys know the drill. We also have merchandise on Teespring that I keep talking about. I'm just going to say it's just our logo. Eventually there'll be artwork, but that's all you get for now. If you'd like to chat with me or Rex or be on a podcast episode even, join our Discord server. It's currently 5 in the morning. Somebody's talking in our video games chat room about Godzilla Battle Line, which is really cool. So, there's always people talking even in the wee hours of the morning, even though you should not be up at 5 in the morning. You should be in bed. You can join us and talk about Kaiju and Tokusatsu. And as a recommendation, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you can be notified anytime we upload. We're going to start doing bloopers where I say stupid stuff or Rex says stupid stuff and it's out of context and it's really wonky and weird and concerning.
It makes me want to die.
I laugh. I still need to upload the first one of my things. And a huge thanks to our friend Rex for editing these podcasts. This is a mess. You're gonna have like 2 to 3 hours of content to go through. So thank you guys for listening to this maybe train wreck. I don't know. Rex, you can make sure it's not a train wreck in editing, but thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you found information, and I hope you come back for the next discussion we'll be having is not a movie, but an actual topic. And stay tuned for a bonus episode next week on our YouTube channel.
Ooh, exciting.
Ooh. Yeah. Woo!
Actually, no, not. I have to edit it.
You do? Well, remember everybody, life's too short to not talk big. Bye, guys.
Bye.